Emotional intelligence refers to the ability to recognize, interpret, and process emotions in yourself and others. While genetics, upbringing, and environment all play a role, there are steps you can take to develop your emotional intelligence over time. Get to know yourself. Emotionally intelligent people are self-aware. They have a realistic appreciation of their strengths and weaknesses and how they come across to others. Peer feedback is one way of improving your self-awareness and may uncover a few of your emotional blind spots.
Hello, welcome to Talk to Me Tuesday podcast, where we talk about relationships, mental health, parenthood, trending topics, and live interviews. You can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Talk to Me Tuesday podcast. Make sure you guys go ahead and hit that follow and subscribe button, show some love and share. And tonight's topic is going to be emotional intelligence. But before we get into that, I want you guys to take some time out and make sure you follow me. You can also follow me on the Anchor app. So that's anchor.fm/T2MET. Okay. So as you guys saw in that video, we're talking about emotional intelligence today. And emotional intelligence is the ability to be aware of, to express, and to control your emotions. So a lot of you may be wondering, where do you even get the topic from? And that is what I've come on here to share with you. I want to share with you what brought about the topic, how it affects me, and then also some tips and things that I learned along my journey that may be able to help you in dealing with this. So I don't know if you're like me, but I am in my, I guess you would say, mid-30s now. Do you call it mid-30s? I don't know. I'm 35. I'll be 36 in November, so I'm guessing mid-30s. But I started this journey when I turned 30. I feel like that's the time when I became self-aware, when I started noticing things that were maybe not favorable in my behavior and the way that I interacted with people. And it started making me question, okay, why am I doing this? What's going on? And all of that. And that's pretty much where the concept of Talk to Me Tuesday came from, is me sharing my journey and we talking about it, and then sharing and seeing that other people are also going through the same things. It's crazy how you will see, once you express it, how other people are also dealing with the same things and around the same time in life, So I thought that once you know better, you'll do better. And maybe you've never heard of anybody even mention emotional intelligence like me. I had never heard that term until my journey of self-discovery and looking into certain things. Then I learned emotional intelligence, right? Growing up, it was always big, go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a good education, all of these things, get a good job, right? All that is everything that I was ever taught, ever heard of, and all of that. I never was told to manage my emotions. I was never told how to express my emotions or how to even deal with other people's emotions, because that's a part of emotional intelligence as well, is how you handle other people's emotions, whether it be your coworkers, whether it be your marriage or parenting. So I was not handling my emotions well in my marriage. I was not handling them well as a parent or as being a coworker or a friend. I used to actually pride myself on the term going 0 to 100. When you hear a person say, I can go 0 to 100, or I can pop off, I myself used to say those words. I can pop off, I can go 0 to 100. And it was almost as a bragging right type of thing. And it wasn't until getting older when I realized, people you like something happens and you just go off and you're yelling and screaming and all that stuff, and you claim that you blacked out and that you don't know what happened. It gets old. And having to apologize for popping off or coming back and having it being weird and awkward because you went off on somebody, I was done. I was done with that type of situation. So if you don't know, and if you haven't heard before, I was born and raised in Kansas City. I moved to Florida and I've been there for the past 5 years. Okay. What I realized is that the way that I grew up, there were a lot of people around me that had a lack of emotional intelligence. It's a lot of people who also prided themselves on popping off, arguing, fighting, things like that, not being able to just have a regular conversation, not being accountable for the way that you react when you hear something that you don't like. I mean, I've had fights where, looking back now, had I been able to control my emotions, or had I learned how to control my emotions, they would have never happened. It's very minimal to the reason for fighting. Embarrassing, very embarrassing. I remember a time when I had a fight over $5, a disagreement over a girl lost $5. She wanted to blame me for the $5 and getting upset that I was being blamed for it. I thought that in order to prove myself, I needed to fight. So ended up getting suspended from school, almost lost my credits, and almost didn't graduate on time because of a simple disagreement over $5. And if you look into like a lot of the arguments and fights and things like that we see that are like glorified on TV, and you find out the root of it, a lot of times it is a very minor disagreement that could have been talked about or come to a resolution. So I learned that emotional intelligence is learning to respond and not react. So it's learning to take your time, hear what you are hearing, process it, and then respond. Not pop off, not feel like you need to put your guards up, not feel like you need to argue or scream and yell and black out and all these things, but pausing and working through the emotions that you are feeling. It's also wondering, like, why is this upsetting me? Why is this making me pop off? Why is this something that is triggering me? I do have a video up about triggers if you guys want to check that out. That's something that will help you with this piece of information as well. And that's on this my Facebook Talk to Me Tuesday podcast page, and you can find it on the Anchor app as well, where we discuss triggers. A number one thing is that if you do not know what triggers you, you are more than likely going to be triggered. I learned something over watching like this therapy TV show, is that if you address the buttons that people push, right? If you address them, then, and you heal them, you heal the buttons, you get rid of the triggers, or you are aware of the triggers, then it's impossible for a person to push your buttons. It's impossible for a person to trigger you because you will be aware. That's something that I found was huge in my life, is learning that, okay, you know what? I'm being triggered by this. Why? What is the root cause of why I'm acting this way? What's the root cause of why I'm responding in this way? Why am I so defensive? Why am I feeling the need to yell, scream, and all of those things? A lack of emotional intelligence will trickle down as well. Another thing that I'm big on, that you guys know, is that I'm really big on generational cycles. And a lack of emotional intelligence can be passed on to your kids. It can be passed on to your offspring, and then you find them not being able to handle their emotions and not being able to work through problems and issues that they may have with their siblings or they may have with their friends. It's also very detrimental to, if you are in a relationship, it's detrimental to your marriage. If you're not able to have a conversation about something that bothers you, it's not going to work out. They say communication is important. Well, understanding why you communicate the way that you do and how to communicate is also important. So while I was coming up with this topic, I did come across a couple of questions that I felt were self-reliant questions, self questions that you ask yourself to find out how you respond, and is it something that maybe you have a lack of? And it is the number one question is, are you able to share your feelings? So for me, just being transparent with you all, if you knew me from my past and you know how I respond to things, if I am sad, well, let me say was, because I am a work in progress. So if I was sad, if I was upset about something, if I felt like the mood shifted or I was being talked about or someone came at me disrespectful, anything like that, I would either shut down completely or I would react in anger. There was no conversation being had. There was no like, hey, I felt this way when you said this or did this. It was immediate react, react, react. Okay. Like there was no type of pause, think about it, none of that. It was reaction, reaction, reaction. Even to the point of being violent. And I don't want to say violent like that, but fighting and being physical is violent. So, that's just something that, hey, that's a part of my past. I have to acknowledge that and say, yes, that's how I reacted to things. But now I can say that I can pause and I can actually think about how is this making me feel and try my very best to express those feelings. Because if you don't express your feelings, how is a person supposed to know how it made you feel or why you're reacting in that way? As the biggest thing is like, we're not mind readers. And even if a person was a mind reader, they may still get it wrong because it's your perception and it's how you felt about the situation. And I also learned that everything does not need a response. Back then I felt like if something was against my character, against something that I chose to do, and it wasn't in alignment with what I believed it to be, I felt like I needed to defend myself. So I'm yelling, I'm screaming, I'm, trying to get my point across and things like that. And not everything needs that energy, some things, yes, if it's important to you, a loved one or anything like that, and you need to express how you feel, give it your energy. If it is a person who does not know you, does not know your character, is not affecting your money or anything like that, then it doesn't even need time or energy, and that's another thing that I'm learning. The most concerning thing is that to me, I feel like if we are not teaching our children about emotional intelligence and we're not stopping the cycle, then it just continues on. Or they are looking to social media, they're looking to reality TV and things like that to find out how to express themselves. And if you all have noticed, they exploit our community's lack of emotional intelligence on these reality TV shows. And they show that it's glorified to pop off. It's glorified to go 0 to 100. It's glorified to not be able to express yourself and to throw things and to break tables and all of these things. Like, it's glorified. And that is what they show you because it's drama. It's dramatic. So they're not showing you the other side of how if you have a lack of emotional intelligence, you can cause hurt to yourself or end up getting in more trouble than what they're willing to show, being arrested. Right now, the biggest thing that I'm seeing is they're showing relationships and people arguing back and forth in the relationship. They're showing, glorifying like, oh, he pulled her hair. Oh, she broke this. She did that. And that's teaching our kids that that is the proper way to act. And, it's incorrect. While we are pushing forth for people to get the education and to go to school and to go to college and to get a good job, we also need to be pushing forth that emotional intelligence is important, just as important as well. When you see a person and they're throwing a fit, that shows you a lack of emotional intelligence. When you are a child and you learn how to dress yourself and you learn how to bathe yourself and you learn how to eat and you learn how to talk and you learn how to ride a bike and all of those things, in the mix of that, you also need to be learning Why am I angry? Why am I upset about this? Why am I crying? It's not just anger, it's crying as well. Why am I crying over this? Can you express it? I find it very important to work through those type of things in order to make sure that the next generation has the best possible upbringing. And I feel like the next generation after my generation, they do find that learning to express yourself emotionally is important. So I wanted to give you guys some examples of emotional intelligence. One of the one things is self-awareness. And that is what right now I feel like I'm on, is a quest of self-awareness. I want to discover what makes me tick. I want to discover why am I doing these certain things? And I want to discover who I am apart from my mother, my father, my sisters, and people who grew up influencing me. I want to learn who I am apart from that. I feel like that's very important, because one of the things that I learned on the journey is that I reacted in a way that I saw my parents react. I never knew why they were reacting that way to certain things. I just saw them doing that. And that is what I felt like, okay, this is how you react to certain things. And it's not true. It's not factual. I don't want to downgrade or downplay my parents in any kind of way. I'm taking full accountability for my lack of emotional intelligence when it came to relationships, and when it came to parenthood, and when it came to my friendships. I take full accountability for that. However, that is how I learned to react and to behave. So that is something that's important. It's being self-aware. Not what your mom does, not what your dad does, not what your grandparents did or your friends or what you saw growing up, but how you react to things, how your trauma and how that affects you and what your triggers are, self-awareness. The second thing is self-regulation. So instead of popping off, going 0 to 100, can you calm yourself down? When something happens that you don't like, can you stop and think about, why do I feel this way? Why am I sad? Why am I angry? What is causing me to feel this way? Even when it comes to happiness, what about this is making me happy? And what can I do to continue on that path? The third thing is empathy. So being able to understand another person's feelings and why they may be feeling that way is also a part of emotional intelligence. Are you able to embrace change? Are you curious and eager to learn? That's a part of, self-awareness is self-discovery. Are you curious? Are you eager to learn these things? Are you pursuing progress and not perfection? Those are some things that are examples of emotional intelligence. And it's important to learn about you so that you're able to help, if you have kids, you're able to help them on the journey of learning who they are as well. It's important to not ignore the different things and feelings that you're going through, and to want to find out why you're feeling this way and why you're doing certain things. So I also wanted to share with you guys some questions on how you can kind of become self-aware, and maybe some questions that you want to ask yourself while you're dealing with this. And it is, are you sensitive to others' emotions? Are you calm under pressure? Do you lash out? It's something just to think about and to take away from the conversation, to further find out where you are in your journey of emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is the foundation of my next topic that I'm going to bring to you guys next week, and that's emotional. So I will also be sharing with you guys about what led me to that as well. So I just want to leave you all with those thoughts, and thank you for tuning in and watching with me. I will be back in 2 weeks where we will discuss the emotional maturity that goes with this topic. So if you guys have any questions, or you want to continue the topic in the comments, please make sure that you share that with me. I will respond to everything that I see. You can also DM me if you do not want to share personally in the comments. You can send that through the DM as well. So Thank you for tuning in and watching with me. I will see you guys in 2 weeks, and we will discuss the emotional maturity.